Welcome to another hour-long special of Party of Six, the show where CNBC Africa chat to a group of individuals from the same industry. There'll be opinions.
There is that old perception, people say, oh, it's the wicked stage, you mustn't go into the arts, which as you grow older you realize is true.
Someone said, it's like this overnight success for you. And I was like, no, I've been doing this for 10 years.
I mean, if you do your job properly, you get to experience a different perspective.
There'll be laughter.
Yeah, you like to hit women, I'll watch you on the TV. I'm like, okay.
There'll be controversies.
Saga didn't stop generations. 16 actors got together and said, hey, I'm done here, bruh.
We are people who take on responsibilities beyond the paycheck.
Welcome to Party of Six. This week we chat to a roundtable of actors. The Party of Six team recorded this episode at the Butcher Block in the Rosebank Holiday Inn Crown Plaza. The Butcher Block restaurant at the Crown Plaza in Rosebank is the restaurant of choice for excellent food and relaxed dining. Offering premier cuts of meat, Butcher Block is favoured by steak lovers for its consistently juicy and tender steaks. Only AAA grade cuts are served. Butcher Block not only offers meat dishes but chicken, fish and vegetarian as well. The bright and airy Butcher Block Rosebank is the perfect business lunch destination. Our guests this week are Dan Robertson, Jody Abrams, Lohiso McDonald and Armand Okamp. Your host today is Nozipo Mbanjwa.
Guys, welcome to Party of Six. If you haven't seen the show yet, this is a time for us to just sit down around the table as friends, have a meal and a drink, and a big drink.
Are you including your imaginary friend? Because there's 5 of us here.
Let's call him Misha.
Usually, I'm always co-hosting this with David Williams, who's not here today. Quick introduction of who you are, what's your claim to fame?
I'm Dan Robertson. I'm an actor by trade. Also like to think of myself as a writer and a director. I've been on a couple of TV series that people might have seen, 90 Plain Street, Bay of Plenty. As for films, mostly you could say Blink and You'll Miss Me. Probably best known for working at the Market Theatre Laboratory and doing training and development.
Yeah, I'm Jody Abrams. Come from a long line of hooligans. Yeah. Stomped the boards a bit, been in front of cameras and stuff, but the main thing is stories. I was in 90 Plain Street, hard copy, yeah, wherever there's like a little bit of a dodgy character. I'm either the policeman or the hooligan thug, so that's
Or the corrupt police.
Yeah.
Or the corrupted.
I never got that yet.
It'll come.
Yeah.
It soon will be aging corrupt.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
I'm Lohiso McDonald, an actor. Originally from Durban, worked in theatre for a number of years, then made the move up to Joburg and have since done quite a bit of TV work in Soapy Land. I was on Isidingo for about 2 years and now I've just started work on a show called Zabalaza on Mzansi Magic.
Aren't you in that sexy ad where you're like with
ad?
half-naked men and you're like in the middle?
How is that sexy? With
Like,
all the half-naked
I mean,
men? No, I'm joking.
hey. I mean, you can't just like.
Nando's.
Yeah.
I think Nando's. Yeah, I did a Nando's
Was that you?
parody. Yeah, it was me. I had a very big moustache then.
Hi, my name is Armand Okamp. Recently moved up from Cape Town. I did a lot of theatre in Cape Town, and then my move up here was sort of motivated by the amount of Afrikaans work. I do quite a bit of work for KykNet. And at the moment filming the remake of Ballade vir 'n Enkeling, which was quite a big Afrikaans series in the 80s.
I mean, I often hear people talking about the acting bug biting me. I mean, is that true? Did it happen like that for you?
Not really. I never did drama at school. I always wanted to, but I was very shy and I didn't have the confidence to go and do drama at school. I played music though. And I loved performing. I started performing piano and saxophone since I was 4. So that love of performance at an early age, I don't know, it wasn't like, wow, I'm bitten by this bug, but I just really liked entertaining people. When I would sit in front of the piano or stand at a nice dead fit, that shyness would go away. because you transport yourself into this world, and I think that sort of escapism I enjoyed.
Me, the bug died. No, I was just, I used to, my best friend's mother was an opera singer. I basically, I got a bursary to study at a little private school. And because of that, I got, I was kind of like, met different people from different backgrounds, And then Evelyn Dahlberg, son Andy, and I became friends. And I went home one day, and then I used to spend a lot of time with him. And then I went to, in those days it was still called K-Pad, the Nico, which is now Artscape. And she was singing lead roles in the thing, and then they would say, well, we can't have these kids running around causing havoc. So at the age of 7, they chucked us in the chorus, So I got my first role at 7 playing in the Rosenkavalier.
I think an accidental bug. I went to Wits University. I wanted to study film. When I got to the university, I realized that the film department wasn't very practical. So it was very much theoretical, but there was this great opportunity. They just built a theater. This is the early 80s. And there were a lot of opportunities to perform. You kind of got pushed into that acting thing, and then maybe once it does bite and you think, oh, this is quite nice, it's quite empowering.
Yeah, chicks dig it.
Yeah, they do. There is that old perception, people say, oh, it's the wicked stage, you mustn't go into the arts, which as you grow older you realize is true, that you actively dissuade people from entering into the profession unless they're really, really good.
There's no money.
And they know that it's going to be tough, and you can't just be a celebrity.
I think I was 6 years old, and they were casting for the Nativity play. Really enjoyed it. I felt it felt natural. It felt not easy, but I felt comfortable doing it. Being on stage, like you said, performing felt, because I was a very shy kid growing up, very reserved. But when I was on stage, for some reason, I didn't feel that way at all. So my mother picked this up, and she sent me to drama classes that I'd go to like once a week on a Saturday morning with other kids in primary school. And I went to those up until about grade 7, but once I got to high school, sport took over. Started playing rugby, and then didn't do it again until I finished, actually, high school.
And someone said, it's like this overnight success for you. And I was like, no, I've been doing this for 10 years. And just because now you've seen me on TV, now it's like, this is overnight, I've never seen you before, now here you are. And it's like, well, I've put in 10 years of work that no one ever sees.
The people who remain in the business are the ones who are dedicated to it and do it for a passionate reason and not necessarily for money. But they also understand what the financial implications are, that you're not going to have an easy time with house bonds, medical aids, any kind of social security net that you might find in a full-time occupation.
But one of the things that I think has come out so far is that there are at times unrealistic expectations of what the profession does yield in terms of the money that you can make. But I want us to put the elephant in the room on the table, if the table will take it. Let's talk about generations and what's happening there. I don't think that, this is an isolated incident. I think maybe it's a reflection of a deeper problem and a deeper chasm that we're perhaps not seeing as South Africans. As an outsider, when I read an actress saying, I currently make 55,000 a month, I'm like, that's good money. What are you complaining about? And this is the thing. I need you guys to set me straight, educate me if we've got this wrong.
I think in that instant, firstly, I don't think the actress ever said, I make 55,000 Rand a month, until somebody actually broached their privacy and actually revealed
that's how much
that as an amount.
Yeah.
And then obviously she stood up and owned it. Let's look at this. Let's look at generations as a commodity. Here's a commodity that is worth roughly, profit-wise, 500 million Rand a year. Okay, of which actors' salaries are a component of a revenue stream that is both attracting ad spend of a huge amount at the SABC and making a tidy profit for the producer. What's not fair is that productions like this, and Generations is not the only one, these productions are being sold or broadcast throughout Africa, for which there is still no remuneration happening. So that is a hell of a lot of exposure and a hell of a lot of other revenue that really is not really being talked about.
Is that a generations problem, or is that an industry-wide problem?
It's an industry problem. It's an intellectual property issue that, the rest of the world, producers and actors get along quite well. Even in this country, we get along pretty well because we know, what we contribute, what they contribute, and we know what's kind of fair. Where we don't really play ball as a country like you would in Europe or the United States, because it's a much larger industry and their product sells a lot better. We seem to have missed that boat in terms of understanding all the intellectual property issues around your performance rights.
I think within the greater picture, when you're looking at a continent, when you're looking particularly at Southern Africa, where a lot of people live below the breadline, there are going to be people raising their eyebrows going, oh, that's a lot of money. But this money is controlled by very few individuals in this country. There are few producers, if you look at it, who actually control these billions, And the issue is, how do you buy yourself a future? As an actor, as a creative, if someone is taking away your position to earn, your right to have a future and to pass it on to your kids. And this is a story not only of Africa, but people have always come in here and said, let me take it away from you. I have the money, you have a gift. Let me buy it from you and own you. Okay. Now, in most other countries, there are rights paid out. It's a royalty. It's an accepted norm that if I'm generating income using you and your intellectual capital, then you deserve a fee. And if we do not do the business, how can we ever continue to pay for the art? Because you're constantly killing your live stream.
Is this a game changer? The fact that this whole cast has decided to take the position, is it going to change anything? Is it sufficient? Does it really matter?
It matters in the sense for me that it's bringing to light, the fact that we're having this conversation now, it's helping bring to light a lot of the issues, particularly with the SABC, in the way they conduct their business. And these are issues that anyone who's paying a TV license or owns a TV should care about.
What about broadcasters like the platform, the DSTV platform, the satellite channel platforms? These are platforms that earn huge amount of revenues that are, again, also, and yet they don't pay royalty rights. And I think the issue is saying, yeah, okay, let's look at, we can all put it down and say a salary. But a salary is a short-term solution. These rebroadcast rights and actual ownership, an ownership of a product, of a license, of a right, as me.
So your brand translating into equity, in essence.
Of course.
That's what you
Anywhere
want.
else, if you sold a product, this bottle of wine, you're making money. Percentage has been made on this. You're going to put it here, you're going to license it, you're going to wear brand. There's equity.
The fact that COSATU at some level is getting involved points more to the fact that it's a much loved show. It has a pedigree. It has a long track record, and it's a kind of what's the word? People are invested in this show.
Is there enough money and revenue being earned in the industry to warrant huge salaries? I'm putting it out there. Because if you
television there's enough money being turned over as opposed to feature films. If we don't have audiences going in to watch feature films, we know that return is not going to come on the investment.
I belong to, so there's this new relatively new union that started called Saga, which
White
is affiliated.
people in unions.
Which is affiliated with UASA, yeah. And every year we have our AGMs, and it's really interesting to see how passionate actors are, and they're like, yes, and our rights. But if you look, because the AGM is open to anyone and everyone who wants to come in, and the numbers are not reflective of the amount of actors out there. So you've got these very passionate actors saying, yes, we must, we must all stand up together in unison, otherwise things will never change. But 120 Rand a month is not enough.
Unfortunately, you got to be,
But I mean, that's how we are going to change stuff. 16 actors walking off, that's it's sending a message, and I believe very strongly that every actor should join Saga. 120 Rand a month is quite a lot, but it's not even a meal out once a month.
Where are their teeth for me?
Yeah.
It's like my union's a baseball bat.
supposed to be the team.
I'm going to play complete devil's advocate. Okay, you're looking at someone here who's saying, I got to fork out $120 a month. Okay, first of all, I'm hustling. I don't know if I've got a job. Okay, I work. I'm not employed constantly. Okay, and what are the returns for me? Basic returns, straight up. When you're looking at an industry like, let's say, the fishing industry or the mining industry, you're talking about revenue being earned constantly. Here's a salary. Here go. If we stop, this mine comes to an end, we can go into negotiations. You're looking at how many people are employed within the soapy industry. This is only the soapy industry that's kind of the television industry at the moment. You understand? It's a handful of people. So if you're saying to me, Saga, all right, but what is Saga going to do? What is Saga actually going to do? And go, hey, listen here, give me my money or what? No, or what? They're just going to replace you, bruh.
No, I think you should attend one of the amount of lawsuits that Saga has successfully gotten writers, actors, money from residuals or commercials or theatre or whatever problem they have. The stories are incredible and they stand there. And 120 Rand a month, I joined before I had my first professional acting job. I was waitering and I was paying that with my waiter money.
Saga didn't stop generations. 16 actors got together and said, hey, I'm done here, bruh. Okay. And this is all I'm looking at. I'm just saying realistically, my grandfather was a union man, okay? Started biscuits, fishermen. It's a dirty, dirty game, okay? Because at the end of the day, you've got to be strong enough to go to the big guys and say, this is not happening. These boats are not going out. These factories are not going to open, okay? Now, unfortunately, when you look at and this is where I got to say, is Saga, because the guys who sit there and represent Saga are still part of the industry. They still got to hustle their thing, Is it the game that they're playing? Because now if you're going to make enemies within that thing, dude, you're not. Where when it comes to unions, union game is that's that man's game. That's what he makes. He earns a revenue out of that. The union is strong financially because of that. It's a business.
If you look at whether it's British Equity or the Screen Actors Guild or American Actors Equity, we're talking about, they've got a kind of closed shop model because they're
What's a closed shop model?
Closed shop model is basically you're not going to work unless you're a member of one of those groups.
Okay.
And that's virtually legislated against because they can claim the full membership.
The laws are different.
For us, it's pie in the sky because actually there's a sustainability of industry, but like Jody said, is those structures, those unions, work like a business. I mean, the Screen Actors Guild, they own their own buildings.
Simplifying the generations debacle to me says this comes down to the contracts. They want long-term contracts instead of month-to-month engagements. But then at the same time, I'm like, but if Lois is a newbie on Generations and his character has got a small peripheral role that doesn't have a 3-year lifespan.
There are differentiations of contract. I think the frustration creeping in for those actors is that they can't qualify for a bond
Yeah.
Because
As
they've
a
got a
full-time
1 year
actor.
they've got a 1 year contract is all they can prove.
Yeah.
So they can't buy into a
They
longer
can't
term
access
bond.
credit
And
if
then
they can't engage in the economy.
They can't do that.
They
And-
can't exactly. They can't engage in the
Yeah.
economy.
And whereas they have probably been in, most of those guys
Yeah.
have been in, how many years have they been in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
20 years. Some of them
20.
from the beginning of the
And
Yeah.
some of them can't,
Yeah.
and yet still, that very production is being sold now, reruns running all over, okay, all over the continent, huge money being generated off it. They don't see a cent. That's unfair, bottom line.
And people aren't watching the production or the
watching
script
the
writers,
person.
they're watching the people.
There's a possibility of old actors and actresses coming back. There might be auditions for people to come in and so on. Should that happen?
Maybe Saga should stop them.
I mean, would you go and audition? Would you go in, or are you going to stand in solidarity? What are you guys going to do?
There are people who are hungry enough. If you're hungry, you must understand, you're talking about people who are living below the bread line. If you've got nothing in the pot, what's going to stop you? This is my opportunity. Unfortunately, that's it.
And have you noticed I read the casting brief for the new characters that they're bringing in, and most of them are below 30, the new characters.
As in age-wise?
Age-wise,
Okay,
most of
so
them
they're
are
all
below 30.
fairly young.
Yeah.
They're looking for young people, young actors.
So casting is open.
30K.
That's what I wanted to understand.
Dude, I was like, give me that brief, you rubbish.
No, they're looking for most of the characters were around between 22 and 26.
So how does it work? So the audition/castings are open for anybody who wants to.
Well, apparently, yeah. A friend of mine, another colleague of mine, went through yesterday and said it was utter chaos. It was literally an open call.
Because it was because of the turnout for.
We call them Lion King auditions. You know, people that will stretch around the block somewhere. Maybe they'll change. But if you look at,
See, that shouldn't happen. If I was running Saga, that shouldn't happen. I'd be standing there with a big stick. I'd be like, it's
No
not
violence.
happening.
But if you look at the
Unfortunately.
social network right now, word on the street, is don't go.
I want to talk about dodgy agents because I think there's a dark side to the industry because of the lure of being famous, of becoming a celebrity, and there will always be people who are going to take advantage of it.
That's life.
It's life. I think if you don't know why you're coming into this industry, you'll always fall victim to people like that. But I've never had a dodgy agent because I try to always make sure that I knew what I was signing up for. I mean, once you're signing a contract, you have to be sure of what you're doing. But I've fell victim to dodgy producers before who to this day have not paid me for work.
Speak to me on my stick. I get your money for small price.
Every actor I know can tell you a horror story about a producer who did you did a show for them or you did this. Come the end of the production, it's time to invoice. Where's the money? There's no money. My funding didn't come through on time. You know, those are some of the excuses people use.
There's always going to be people who are unscrupulous. People are going to take advantage of newcomers from whatever reason. I think, we haven't even gotten to the casting couch gender dynamics of that kind of abuse that has happened in the business. People need to be aware. They need to, walk into that room with their eyes wide open.
Casting couch gender dynamics, it sounds so dodgy.
It is dodgy.
Very dodgy because it is dodgy.
It's not. Let's put it this way. We can all say that there are. A lot of that people think it's a myth. It's not a myth, but it's not the rule. If you're working seriously in this business, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It's not to say that there aren't serious people who have gone down that road maybe and done that, but I think there have been instances, even at varsities, where now, disciplinary or legal action has been taken against people. People are very, very aware. The industry wants to protect itself in the sense of saying, okay, there's somebody who has transgressed somewhere. who's put somebody who's vulnerable into a position where they're unable to defend themselves, or they feel so intimidated because there's this sense that if I don't do this, I'm never going to get anywhere in the business. So I think that the industry itself is working very actively to say, push these people out.
Of comfort that when I look at the leadership that has been in and out of the Department of Arts and Culture at a ministerial level, that this industry has a fighting chance.
It's less than 1% of the national budget, and the national budget is 1 trillion.
If we can get our intellectual capital draft document right in the Gazette and not have this archaic law that's been used by everyone to sidestep and circumvent paying rights on photographs today. If we can get that right, we will be building a long-term industry. What is our kind of 5-year plan for African stories? And not just building an industry on being a service provider. If you look at from our, most of our income is generated within the ad industry. Lots of internationals come in, blah, blah, blah. We've got a lot of international movies coming down, shooting most of them in Cape Town. Okay, they're using the studios. 8-year contracts, 5-year contracts being signed. There's a huge amount of income being generated. And I keep going, what is your 5 to 10 year plan on this? What is your 3? Where are our writers being taught and hooked up so that hypothetically, we've got the BRICS. Argentina decides, listen, we're going to get our act together. We're going to build a couple of sound studios. Weather's kind of right. It's all the same. It's on the same timeline. Where do we sit as an industry? Because it's a fickle industry, filmmaking. You go to where you get the best kind of rates and the best skills for those rates.
Look at what Jody was saying about what is the South African story. I mean, it's that great myth of what is the great South African film that's all so elusive. It's not so much about that. We've got such a small kind of pie, the amount of money that is there to facilitate the making of local stories, and finding the channels to put that through is very, very, very difficult. More and more these days it's about how you get people to invest in it and how you get people to then market. I mean, I don't want to reinvent the wheel or change what you're saying, but the thing is, it's a bit like live theatre as well. There's this kind of corporatization factor that's happened. So we're expected to market this product before we've actually even created it.
Yeah.
So even before we've started the artistic process and the integrity around that, we're kind of forced to look at the bottom line considerations further down, however small or large the production might be.
We try and emulate. I think
that emulation thing is dangerous.
Hollywood all the time.
We're never going to be able to do that.
And that's where
it's a different
our
culture.
Is. Yeah.
It's a different culture.
And until we don't acknowledge our own culture and make stories that are authentic to ourselves, I think we won't succeed.
I caught myself the other day. I was watching Zian Tuli's film, Hard to Get. So I'm watching Hard to Get, and I realized about halfway through that it's all subtitled, but I feel very comfortable watching it. And I'm not a, I don't speak other languages like that, but I'm thinking I'm so comfortable watching this because, and that spoke to me about kind of ownership of local films. It's saying there's not this.
Because you could relate.
Yeah, I could relate because
it's
from my country.
Yeah.
Script takes time to develop. It doesn't happen overnight. Shooting, that we can do. Because that is the foundation. It's the fundamentals that anything, that whole house of cards is built on.
We're not a factory. We cannot have that sensibility of just being a factory, or else those stories will always be marginalized. They will be less than unless you invest in them.
And that comes from a business. People looking at the numbers. A lot of the people who are in the seats, who make decisions as the commissioning editors or things, do not necessarily understand the industry and what it takes to put from a film to a theatre production. A lot of people who have come into this industry walked in and gone, right, okay, now I'm this, right. And again, it goes to that thing where we were talking about it, they see the product. Hey, wow, you guys are, hey, you're a funny guy, come stand me, tell me a joke. I'm like, bro, I'll joke you in your face. Seriously, that'll be funny.
I've been rehearsing for
All right. Do you know what it takes to write a comedic script, to rehearse it? Stand up, it's a rehearsal.
What do you think about the resurgence of Afrikaans cinema coming back, especially onto the scene?
At the moment, sort of CakeNet dominates that entire. I mean, they commission series after series after series. They commission film, and getting on the rehearsal. I've worked with an Afrikaans on CakeNet, a series and a movie, and we have rehearsed for 3 weeks. And he said, "I will not make this movie if I do not rehearse." Quentin Kroch, incredible. Same with the series that he also directed. So I think it is the quality of work that is coming out of the Afrikaans industry is phenomenal, as opposed to 10 years ago when it was like, here's a SLR camera, let's gooi.
What's changed?
Perception.
Perception and money.
Yeah.
Money, huge.
It's also
The budgets are-
but it's expendable income.
Yeah.
It's the Afrikaans films sell better because there's an audience.
And they also, it's also the fact of emotion. I'm buying my taal. I'm buying into the emotion of that. And there's nothing wrong with that. We always tend to forget the common denominator, the normal man in the street, okay? That he also wants to dream. He also wants to believe in something. But we stop him from that. Through what? Through this. Because what we do is, we say to him, we're going to put this movie on. It's going to be a new Metro or Stekken Quarters, lekker movie as with $60. Now, whoa, I'm going to tell you this. My grandmother, when they first came to see me, their nerves were finished because they were like, we're going to a theater, we have to buy clothes. Who are we going to borrow a fur thing for? We have to pay for drinks. How are we going to get there? We're going to have to ask that uncle to borrow a car to take us there. Because, come on now. Look at it realistically. We are saying to the common guy who would love to support that he's going to fork it out. I took my daughter to the film. I was like, 140 Rand a head, man. That's what you got to have. Then you still got to factor in, I got to transport. Where, if you look at where the majority of people live in this country, are there theatres that are accessible?
So what's the vehicle? Do we go back to the schools? Do you go back to the churches?
Interesting, this Pat Na Your Hart film. Those two actors were 7-Alone actors and they've received, that celebrity status. They go out with the Blow pop-up theatre. I'm working with her now and this weekend she's in Doornfontein, this one she's in Pilansburg. With a mobile theatre, Ivan Botha and Donnelly Roberts go out with this portable theatre and they just show their movie that they made to the country. And I think that vessel is one that we need to try and sort of encompass every film. That we have that attitude of taking a blow-up theatre, you put a pump in and there goes a thing, and I'll show you my movie for $10.
There are institutions that are out there. Here people are like, Nollywood and stuff, the quality. But people watch it. Why do they watch it? Because it's their stories. Start changing that mindset. And these companies that waste insane amounts of money on absolute, I'm going to put it as that, and they're going, whoo, look what we've done for the community. You've done jack if you haven't made someone dream. Because dreams make people believe that they can do anything.
We talk about a theatre culture, theatre-going culture. And it's exactly what Jody was saying, where if somebody is making their mind up to go to the theatre, you've got a lot of things to take into consideration. A, what type of a show it is. Am I supposed to dress up? Or can I dress down? Is it during the day? Is it in the evening? How do I get there? Yeah. How much are the tickets? Am I going to go with a group of people, or am I going to buy myself? It's not like you buying a ticket to go to the movies, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And theaters are not very accessible. Yeah. Yeah. They're not accessible. They're not where they need to be for the people who need to watch them or need to go to the theaters. Yeah. And the power of film is that you put something you record something on camera like we're doing now. You can take it anywhere. It's not confined in a space. You can take it anywhere. People can watch it on their cell phones.
The worst or most difficult role you've ever played?
Worst?
I'm busy being a husband. We're rocking on, man. I'm nailing this role.
We are not editing that bit out.
Worst was one of my first things. I was funky monkey for a children's company.
Okay.
And kids are unforgiving. Every time I come out, they cry. And I'm like, oh, it's over.
What did Funky Monkey have to do?
He had to teach them lessons about sharing.
So you taught my son at school, because that bastard doesn't share anything.
And most challenging, it was probably my very first professional theatre job with Artscape. I had to play Alexander the Great, and I was 24 years old and quite skinny. And it wasn't the mighty conqueror, it was the man behind closed doors, kind of. And that was, yeah. And I think just purely because it was my very first professional job and I came out of a film school, so there was that whole perception like, what are you doing on stage? You studied at a film school. So, you know.
Yeah, you damn pretty boy, get out of here.
You know, it's tough. And the kind of mental pressures, the occupational hazards, comrades, can be tough on people. And you know, you have to be kind of aware of people who work in your industry. I'm not saying that it's that much different from any other industry.
I agree with you, and I think I gotta add to that. I think it is different to any other industry because we take on emotions. Yeah. We are all kind of, I think, slightly touched in our heads because that's what we do. We have to have a kind of a creative madness to access that. And if you're not aware of it, you do get. I mean, Robin Williams.
You have to
Franz Dabrowski.
We have to debrief.
Yeah.
Somewhere, all the time, on a very conscious level. We have to debrief because if we're tackling actual issues in our society, if we're talking about poverty, if we're talking about abuse. A recent case I had, you know, you play somebody who's a rapist. You know, that is an incredibly difficult thing to portray. I'm going to do this, my world is going to change just for that little while and everything, and am I going to come out the other side of this completely unaffected? Not always. We all have friends and colleagues we know that sometimes they take it too seriously. You go, oh, Jew. You know, dude, chill out, okay? Because it gets into you because you're either doing too much research or you're getting so involved with the character or the story.
I was assaulted with a cabbage in Cape Town.
What do they do with the cabbage?
I'd like to assault you with a cabbage.
Yeah, like half a cabbage.
How did it happen? Like, what did the
I did this as a guest role on 7 the Line, and I played a kind of abusive dude, you know. I was actually out picking a pumpkin, you know, like those boer pumpkins, a white pumpkin. So I'm like, no, let's lekker. So I'm bent over and suddenly I feel this like doof on my back. In this vegetable, I'm like, yo, you stomach, yay, why you eat me? So I turn around and there's this woman. Did your mother not teach you any manners, no? I'm like, huh? You don't love your hands to woman. I'm like, what? Auntie, where, what? She says, yeah, you like to hit women. I watch you on the TV. I'm like, okay. But it's again.
Do do do, ta da. Do do do, ta da. Do do do,
get a little bit controversial, beneath the belt, if you will, and I want us to talk about sex scenes. What's been your best scene?
Best.
Yeah, I'm assuming you've had lots.
I was on a show called Intersections.
Yeah, I remember Intersections.
Yeah, I had quite a few, and it was my first time doing any scene like that on TV. I mean, I'd done a few in theatre, but the process is very different, yeah.
Explain to me the process.
Yeah, like
Yeah. What is it about the theatrical process of a sex scene? My brother.
Very different, eh? Very different.
Yeah, very different. So yeah, Intersections was the first time I was actually okay. I'm
Like, what
doing
did you
this-
have to
this
do?
sex
Like,
scene. I mean, it wasn't anything hectic. We were, well, most of the time not fully, partly clothed.
okay, we moved from most of the time to fully to not
Because
fully.
it's coming back to me. I was yeah.
Okay, so you're not fully naked, but you're kind of naked.
Yes, kind of naked.
You see, I'm paying attention.
And the very first scene I shot was with an actress I'd met on the day. Hi, my name's Loiso. I'm playing.
Hi, man. I'm going to be banging you today.
I'm gonna be banging you today in the bathroom
What?
of a club, in a club bathroom. So I pull her into the bathroom and we just, map each other. And at some point whip out a condom because it is Intersections, it's educational. So this is the first scene I'm shooting with this person who I've just met earlier in the day. So now we have to be comfortable around each other so that it doesn't look awkward. Chemistry, they talk about chemistry all the time. So I was a nervous wreck. I was like, geez, I'm gonna screw this up. I'm gonna
Excuse
completely
the
screw
pun,
this
but
up. I'm not even gonna acknowledge the pun.
Oh, I get it.
I'm gonna completely screw this up, but it's so technical.
nude scenes. Do you think it's easier for men to bear it all than for women? Do you think that they go through?
No,
a
but I mean, come on,
process?
seriously. You want to be,
Why?
because people are going to be like, it was very cold on that morning, wasn't it?
Your experience, is it?
It was cold that morning. I'm like, that was me laughing at other people. I'm like, no, guy, come on.
Like, that's it? That's all you've got?
No, I think it's super brave. It's like, and I think every actor, true actor, should be able to stand completely naked and bear themselves, because there's a kind of a thing of, this is who I am.
The first exercises you do in drama classes is being comfortable or conscious of your body, being comfortable with your body, and being comfortable around another person with their body. So like one example is an exercise where they'll get a class, you all lie on the ground in a line, and one by one you roll over each other.
Yeah.
Right? So for the person who's on the end rolls over and starts the chain, and then the next person rolls over. That's sort of getting over
You
the
actually
fact.
went to the army.
That was soccer practice.
Yeah.
We're actually going to do a quick rap. And I perhaps would like to go around the table.
A rap, so
Yeah, something like that.
Here we are.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
I just want a quick reflection from each person about your sense of the future of this industry, and also maybe we often talk about, and I've heard it at this table today, about that satisfaction that you get from what you do. If you could reduce that to words, what is it that you take away at the end of each shoot? What is it that keeps driving you from this particular profession?
I'm really positive and excited about the future of the industry. And I know there's a lot of problems, and I know that things aren't always as great as we'd hope they'd be. But I've been doing this for 8 years, and I'm even more positive now than when I started. So that's how I feel about what I'm doing. What I take away from each job has changed. I thought it would be the satisfaction of, I'm an actor now, or whatever. But working on the thing that I'm currently working on, I'm so grateful for every job that I do, I get to meet an entire new team of human beings that just, in a good or a bad way, but add to my life. And we all work together for this one story. That absolute team effort that goes into making a product. I love that.
You work with different people, different dynamics. You learn things from people about where they come from, how they got to where they are now, and also exploring a person who you wouldn't necessarily come into contact with on a day-to-day basis, but through a character, for example, you get to. I mean, if you do your job properly, you get to experience a different perspective, you know, and you're not in a position to judge that person for that. You know, it's you get to really empathize with people.
I wish that the truth of our stories can be reflected in the dreams of our children's eyes.
We are idealists. We are storytellers. I mean, I think more and more we find ourselves wearing multiple hats. Because we're able to play different characters, we also see ourselves in different roles. We don't necessarily see ourselves just as performers. We see ourselves as writers. We see ourselves as directors. We see ourselves as producers. If things aren't happening around us, we want to activate things. So we take on the roles in society if we are activists or teachers or mentors or facilitators, whatever those words arbitrarily might mean to somebody. We are people who take on responsibilities beyond the paycheck.
I feel like I've been educated on so many things. And I think it's important to really talk to the players in the industry, the guys who grapple with the issues and the dynamics on a daily basis. And I think our conversation on the one hand moved from really serious things that we had to take on, looking at the space for unions and how do they claim that space and improve or enhance their efficiency in that space, looking at the industry in terms of the dynamics that the actors and the actresses have to operate within. And then of course finding out all about your sex scenes was absolutely fantastic.
And my big stick.
And your...
oh, sorry.
But thanks guys, really, really appreciate it. Now let's have more alcohol.